Welcome to Reach the World ASAP. My name is Pastor Scott Griswold. I work with ASAP Ministries, and I'm on a mission trip passing through the countries of Southeast Asia. I happen to be in Myanmar at the moment, where I meet some new friends from Melbourne, Australia, but Vikram is originally from India, and Leah is originally from Taiwan. They're a married couple now, and I want you to hear their special story, what God has done in their lives. Tell us a little bit, just
Sure.
You share your story as however you want to.
Okay, well, Scott, about 8 years ago I came as an international student, actually more like 16 years back. But 8 years ago I heard about the truth in the Seventh-day Adventist Church and I was baptized. But the main reason was, at that point of time, we came as international students. So I came from India and I was doing a degree, undergraduate degree, at a university which has about 40,000 students at it. So it's a public, secular campus. We get international students from all over the world. The church we now are part of, it has a student-based ministry there, a student club. And so even though I was a student there, I never heard about the Adventist church until I graduated. And so it's while I was working in my first year of having graduated that I met a Seventh-day Adventist on a train who comes to the same church we're a part of. And he involved me in the church and we started Bible studies together. So my background is, my family is Hindu and they still are Hindu. But as for myself, we had the opportunity of growing up in a school run by Christian missionaries. It was non-denominational. And coming to Australia, I stopped attending church, but when I started studying the Bible and I learned many of the things that we know as a church, of the prophecies in Daniel and Revelation, I kept asking myself, why didn't anyone share this with me before? And so I was just amazed, I was overwhelmed, and within 4 months I made a decision to be baptized. And since then it's been an amazing journey of having God lead in my life, and through that journey I also met my wife in the same ministry that we have in Melbourne.
So tell us, Leah, a little bit of your background. You
Yeah.
came from what kind of a religious background
Yeah.
growing up?
So I come from Taiwan. My family is sort of a mix, Taoism, Buddhist, worship dead people, worship the spirit. So it's a very confused religion background. So I grew up with the environment that I don't really know what is the true, because they're also a little bit contradictory to each other.
So how did you come to know about Jesus?
Yeah.
And about
So
his truth?
I come to Melbourne to study as an international student,
Mhm.
and at that time I just to have like a social life. So I was invited to go to a Sunday church with one of my housemates. So I was being there for a year, and I realized that I don't really know who Jesus is. But since I keep coming to this church, so I sort of understand a little bit more, but I wasn't really know who he is. And so I remember one day I was in my house and I just prayed that, Lord, if you are real, I didn't call him Lord. I just say, if you are real, you reveal to me, and I think maybe I can learn to trust you. After that thought, 2 weeks after, I have an Adventist student from overseas. She moved into share the same house with me. But we used to enjoy drinking together, have fun together, and I just think God is really amazing that how He can use I use the Adventist like that to reach to me, because the church that she go is the same as Vickers Church. It's called Adventist Centre, called Gateway Adventist Centre in the city. And they have a student club, a student ministry. They reach out to overseas students. So their church member was trying to reach out to her. And so I haven't seen her for a while because they just really reach out to her. So eventually she moved out from my house. But then eventually because I really still want to keep in touch with her, but she told me, I'm just so busy. Maybe the only thing you can meet me, how about let's meet in a health program that we run in the church. And she wasn't intent to reach out to me. But when I went there, and I just really enjoyed the fellowship, and that's my first encounter of Adventist group. And eventually I asked her that if we could have a Bible study, and she was surprised. But then a Bible worker from her church and her started a Bible study with me. And then in 8 months, I was baptized, and she was also come back to the church.
All right, and through that time, you began to get acquainted as well.
That's right. So in between the night I was baptized, I felt God's call into full-time ministry. And so that was a journey. I did some training for about 3.5 months at a Bible college. And I came back and I served as a Bible worker at a local church. I wanted the practical experience prior to going into full-time pastoral work. And so during that time, Leah was doing Bible studies, and that's why I first heard about her. And when I was overseas doing my theology studies, when I came back, she was now serving as a Bible worker after being baptized. And so I kept hearing stories about her, and that, how she had changed from, being a Buddhist in the past, and now she's serving zealously for God as a Bible worker in our church. And so when I came back, we had an opportunity to work together, and I guess, I saw many qualities in her that I like. So.
And the Lord led you together from a Hindu background in India and a Buddhist background in Taiwan, bring together in Melbourne, Australia, and then into ministry together. It's just beautiful.
Right. Well, Michael was a judge in Malawi, and he came as an international student to Melbourne University, and he's a high-performing student, and but he came for an evangelistic series. He was doing Bible studies with us initially, with our elder, and he came through an evangelistic series. His wife also came across, and they both went through the series and were baptized together by the conclusion of that series, and now he's gone back home, and he's serving in a position of influence. And we've seen that in a number of cases with Bible studies we've done, because the blessing of working with international students is their families are usually in positions of influence. They're either working in governments or they're working in large corporations, and so they send their children across to places like Melbourne, and we meet with them through our student-based club, and we involve them in our small group ministry. We then have our Bible workers and lay members follow up, give them Bible studies, and we disciple them carefully so that if they go back home, they go back as missionaries. So that's our main desire. And we've had a number of people go back to China now, and they started small groups, people back in Hong Kong and even Singapore. So we have some kind of alumni networking program. Once a year we run a revival weekend, and sometimes they come over with their friends from their local church to revive them, and we do a training program usually once a year, a 10-day training program where we equip them in all the skills of running small groups, how to give Bible studies, discipleship, and so it's just constant training and equipping for our local members, but also for our alumni as well. So
it just sounds like so much to be able to learn from you. Is there a website that if people want to know more how to get involved in international ministry, or just to know more about the Gateway Adventist Centre, what would they go to?
The website address is gatewayadventist.org.au.
Okay.
And so we have a number of our resources already online.
Excellent.
So they could find those there.
There's two resource websites. One is called beyondpatmos.org.
Beyondpatmos.org, okay.
And then rightlytrained.org.
Rightlytrained.org. So 3 great websites to check out. I want to encourage you to look at those websites. We'll also try to link there from reachtheworldnextdoor.com, our site that also talks about how to do international student ministry. I hope that you will get involved personally with this kind of exciting ministry, maybe by visiting there and training with them, or by beginning just to reach out where you are. I believe this is one of God's greatest plans to finish His work in the world, and so together, let's reach the world ASAP.